Look, we mentioned in numerous RNSs last year that we were busy finalising the offtake arrangements for the production of the spodumene ore out of Blesberg. It's been something which we started on several months ago, having done an initial transaction with Traxys, which we terminated, and we terminated that because we were looking for a much more longer term arrangement. So we've gone down the route of dealing with European-based groups. European-based groups for a number of reasons. You know, culturally, I think it fits well within our organisation. I think it adds tremendous value for shareholders in that they're dealing with a counterparty that's both has global presence and is based in Europe and is driven by a number of the regulatory requirements in the UK in terms of transparency, in terms of all aspects which you'd expect to be seeing in a partner. So when we deal with the offtake partners, yes, we identified several groups. We very quickly moved to be in discussions with two, with one particular group out of Switzerland that we really put a lot of effort into to get everything agreed and in place, and that prompted the announcement before Christmas about exactly where we were in the process. Look, the criteria was a group that had the access into the international markets to both market and purchase the spodumene ore, the high-grade spodumene ore that comes out of the Blesberg mine. We were looking for a group that also could demonstrate an ability to deal with logistics, because clearly with any commodity of this nature, logistics is in cases, it's the majority of the costs. So we wanted to be dealing with groups that had that capacity, that also we felt comfortable with. You know, that's it at the end of the day, it's a partnership. What we've been looking at doing is locking in an agreement for an initial 3 years with an additional option to extend it by a further 3 years. And that's for 100% of production. So you're putting a lot of faith in that party to deliver. So the criteria came down to a lot of the personal relationships that existed, not just between us on the Marula side, but also given QGC's established presence in the commodity markets, you know, exporting and selling significant volumes of coal out of South Africa. You know, it came down to those personal relationships and the organisations that they represented. So that drove us, as you mentioned, to dealing with two groups. And one was clearly the favourite. I'm not saying the other one wasn't as good, but clearly we felt that one of them added a lot of credibility to what we're doing. You know, you're guilty by association. So we spent a lot of time working with these groups, and we're now basically agreed and finalised with one of those groups. Look, it didn't help that whilst we were finalising everything and had everything agreed, you saw spodumene prices tank. Let's be honest, in that last quarter of 2023, they absolutely tanked. And you know, it's always tough, and I remember this in the banking sector. You're trying to do a deal in a commodity where the price is falling, and not just by a few percent, you know, absolutely tanking. It's recovering now, so we're in a good position, and it's clearly hit a floor. But when you're trying to get your committee, your investment committee, to support you by getting involved in a commodity which is relatively new for them, at a time when the price was not going in the right direction, that clearly creates an area of concern. So that didn't help, let's put it that way. It wasn't a major factor, but it certainly didn't help. The other thing was basically, the devil's always in the detail. And it was coming down to just how much you were getting paid at mine, how much at port, and then the final settlement. It came down to how much support we were going to get for building some of the infrastructure. It came down to how much support we were going to get on that overall logistics setup. At the end of the day, the reference price that both groups were using there were exactly the same. So we're very fortunate in today's world, there is a reference price against which all spodumene sales can and should be geared to. So the key thing came down to, you know, we as a group were very fast and quick and dynamic and agile to respond and agree, and we did. It then came down to dealing with a big organisation where, you know, we probably ranked down the list of priorities for them. You know, let's be honest, we're a junior company. They're dealing with multi-billion-dollar trades in oil, in coal, in copper, lead, zinc, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it was delayed not through people not wanting to get the deal done, but just through how quick it was to get those wheels in motion. But like I say, we're past that now. We're in a situation where, you know, we're ready to put out an announcement in due course, confirming the agreement, confirming the party, and all those key terms of that agreement. Yeah, look, we've agreed everything. There's been a number of things that come in at the 11th, 12th hour. Things such as people getting tax advice. We're operating in South Africa. The initial context was dealing with a UK-based parent company. Given the point of sale was in South Africa, for VAT purposes, for other tax-related purposes, for royalty purposes, for export purposes, we then had to look at changing that counterparty to be their subsidiary, their operating entity in South Africa. So it's these small things which, between us and the trader, who is the person you deal with on a day-to-day basis, we agree everything. We have the heads of terms signed, we have everything ready, we've got the contract note signed. It then comes down to, the rest of that organisation getting involved and saying, perhaps we need to do this in a smarter way and have this entity doing it. So that's been the stuff which has come in at the 11th, 12th hour, now been resolved. Even small, outstanding KYC stuff which came in, bank details here, who's your OBU, small things which, again, we addressed immediately, but, just add additional time delays and so on. But nothing material, let's be honest. This has taken us a number of months to get done. We're locking in a transaction now which is going to be in place for 6 years. This is a long-term transaction for us, which underpins Marula, it underpins the Blesberg operation, and it allows us to move forward in confidence. It gives our investors, our shareholders, confidence that we have a product that is in demand, that the market wants, and that we have an agreement in place to sell over the next 6 years. Look, this, I never questioned our ability to sell product out of Marula's Blesberg mine. That was never in question, because at the end of the day, you can sell to so many different parties. And as I've said on various interviews and even in kind of posts here, there and everywhere, our product is in demand. It's just aligning yourself with one group. The group here would have received over 100 inquiries about our product, and we still are. But for an ease of operating, we have to deal with one party. It just simplifies things and allows us to move forward. So having this done, having this in place, it gives everybody the confidence in what we're doing. It allows me to focus on other key contractual agreements which we now need to put in place. And I think for the guys on site at Blesberg, they know the tonnages that they've got to start delivering into these contracts. They've got their budgets, the forecast there. They've got to deliver. So, I think it puts everybody back on their toes. It's in place. We've got to get product out into the market. We've got to generate revenue. We've got to generate profits. And at some point in the near future, we've got to be paying dividends to our shareholders. So, no, this is the first, key offtake arrangement for the group, long-term, with good counterparties, that I believe will assist the group throughout Africa in the short, medium and long term. Marula, we've moved ahead at a lot of pace. We've only had Blesberg for 15 months, and look what we've achieved. Many people have had projects in Africa for 15 years and have made nowhere near the sort of progress we have. I'm not using that as an excuse, but we're moving quickly. Sometimes the counterparties that you deal with don't move as quick. And as ambitious as I may be, as ambitious as the group may be, you can only move as fast as the slowest cog in the wheel. That's the problem. So, for me, I guess I've got to be a bit more mindful about the targets that I set myself, but we'll continue to move forward. Blesberg, great, big tick for that. We've got the TOMRA unit coming shortly, which will really increase the capacity there at Blesberg. We've got activities happening here in Kenya on the manganese. The graphite results coming out soon, which are going to be very exciting, particularly given we've just expanded our footprint there up at Nyori Green and Nyori. And then we've got Kanusi, where there's a lot of work going on in the background, particularly by one of our new recruits in South Africa, Jana, who used to be the general manager at Copper 360, one of South Africa's copper cathode producers. So my final words are there's a lot happening, as one would expect of Marula. We'll keep looking to deliver. Where we've been slow to deliver in some parts, please bear with us. It's not through lack of trying. The listings, which I know is on everybody's minds, we'll tick them off over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And that will give people confidence in new markets, both here in Nairobi, in South Africa, and on the main market there in London. So, lots happening. unashamedly a lot happening, but we'll keep pushing ahead and delivering for everybody.